Hello, everybody. Today I would like to talk about Crime and Punishment by none other than Ensar. So I'm sure at this point you've probably seen this fragrance around, or at least seen people talk about it, but what they don't really talk about is the scent and what it smells like. I know out of all the reviews that I've seen, not many people even touch on what this smells like. They might say, oh, this smells great, this is my scent of the day, but you never really see people go in depth on the fragrance itself. And so that's what I would like to do. I've had this fragrance for a few months now. I've been able to wear it more than enough to really get a good grasp on what I'm smelling. And I think that's important for something like Crime and Punishment because the scent is complex. It's multi-layered. It has transitions and stages to it that if you don't really pay attention, it could either smell like an overwhelming mess of complex notes that could get lost in the mix and maybe just smell off-putting. Or if you're someone like myself and you nerd out on these little things, it smells just simply beautiful. Now, I would assume most people that are going to be buying Crime and Punishment and wearing Crime and Punishment are going to be not necessarily the fragrance connoisseurs, but rather people who understand the idea behind this, and whose noses have the ability to handle complexity. Because, when you have something that is as intensely animalic, oud heavy, and, spice and floral heavy as Crime and Punishment, it definitely takes time to pick up everything. And so I'm already wearing it now, but I'm gonna do a spray just so we can talk about the opening. One spray is all you need with this. I know some people talk about a lackluster performance on these naturals, but in my experience, when you have such complex scents like this, it can become overwhelming to your nose and it just shuts off. It'll shut out. Your nose will literally shut out the notes that it can't quite seem to make sense of. And so outside of a scent association, if your brain can't create that, oftentimes it just shuts it out entirely. And so I feel like with Crime and Punishment, that happens. If I was to do 4 sprays of this, for example, I wouldn't smell it at all unless I pressed my nose up to my arm. So this is good stuff. So right off the top, you get a heavy dose of oud. It's a beautiful greenness to the oud. I don't exactly know what was used. I try not to look at notes anymore. They just doesn't really have any bearing on what I'm smelling. So off the top, there's a bright, almost raspberry berry-ish sort of accord that works in conjunction with a really nice, bitter, citrusy grapefruit. It's not like a bitter bergamot, but rather, to my nose, it comes across as like the rind of maybe a grapefruit, if that grapefruit was married with almost tropical fruits and raspberry. It's not sweet by any means, but it's definitely bitter. I think that's the best way I can describe that. That bitterness is quickly backed up by this warmth, beautiful, beautiful warmth. And as the bitterness subsides and the citrus and the grapefruit start to subside, you get this almost sweet osmanthus meets musk, meets heavy, heavy spices. I'm thinking coriander, cumin, definitely pepper, black pepper. I don't know if there's pink pepper per se, but then again, pink pepper is something that's kind of subjective. I wouldn't say this is on the pink pepper side of peppers, but rather, think oriental spices, warm oriental spices. It almost brings an umami factor to this. And what's genius about Crime and Punishment is the fact that Ensar is able to take all of these different aspects of perfumery. He takes subtle hints of gourmand sweetness, and he applies that with, bitter florals, sweet furry musks, resinous oud that just is so clean. It's a smell I haven't really smelled before. I don't think anybody's ever created something that smells like this. And you know, just in the time that I've sprayed this, the citruses and that kind of grapefruit accord I was talking about has subsided. And now you get more of the raspberry. Now, this isn't how I would consider the way a raspberry would smell in real life, but this almost is reminiscent of raspberry if it was to be like a fantasy note. I don't know if it's a combination of florals or if he actually used something with raspberry in it or like a raspberry absolute. That I'm not sure about. It doesn't feel like the way how a fruit absolute would feel. Okay, it doesn't have like this boozy aspect to it, but rather it's bright. And that brightness is juxtapositioned with this really intense, beautiful just aroma of not darkness, but rather thick, heavy warmth. I always kind of read it as like a perfumed graham cracker, if that makes sense. And I know that's a terrible analogy to use to say something smells like a graham cracker when we're talking about natural perfumery. But in this sort of, I guess, situation, it kind of feels like a graham cracker, you know? But it's oud, it's ambergris, it's sandalwood, it's heavy fixatives. And it weighs like a warm blanket on your skin, while the top notes in the mid seem to dance above it. And I think that's another thing that I like about this, is that this is a perfume with, you know, kind of a duality to it. It's both light and it's heavy at the exact same time. The spices and the animalics and, you know, the oud sits at the bottom, while there's this overtone of soft, delicate floral sweetness. I think there might be some osmanthus in there as well. And, you know, there's a very smooth, almost copper metallic kind of tinge to this. And I don't know if that's coming from maybe the way how the oud itself was distilled or not. I really don't know. But it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And now, you know, for the dry down, I have that underneath my shirt. You know, I just like to have little wafts all throughout the day kind of come up. And, you know, the dry down might be one of my favorite dry downs out of anything that Ensar's done. It's reminiscent of EO2 in that it's heavy musk, but it's not Uranus musk. It's not even, you know, some musk can kind of have a overly furry texture. Sometimes it can smell chemically. In this case, the musk is truly a fixative. You know that the musk is there, but it works in conjunction with this kind of ambered sweetness coming also from the ambergris that was used. And it combines to have this almost caramelized oud effect. And it's this dry down that I feel was enhanced upon with EO2. Okay, now some people, when they smell Crime and Punishment, they go, oh, Ensar just combined Tiger Lust with EO2, and then now you have Crime and Punishment. That couldn't be further from the truth. And I'd have to admit, I think I was one of those people in the beginning. I just couldn't understand what I was smelling, so I instantly went to those two associations. But upon further introspection, you can really see that this base is a base all on of its own. But it does draw from the way how EO2 played with musk. And once again, there's nothing you can really compare this to other than an Ensar oud DNA. And it's this DNA that I think truly sets what Ensar is doing apart from a lot of other contemporaries within this community, is that, you know, nothing else smells like this. And I don't think anything else ever will smell like this. Because what Ensar's done is he's created a perfume with some of the absolute best ingredients in the world. Ingredients that you won't find anybody else using, especially not in this quality. His oud as well, you know, he's known for top class, top quality oud, and Crime and Punishment delivers just that. So This isn't a case of really good materials being used by a subpar perfumer, but rather excellent materials being used by an excellent perfumer. And because of that, I just feel that this is a very legendary fragrance. I think if this ever does go out of production, it's going to be something that a lot of us are going to miss, because I think many people allow their personal bias within the fragrance community to get in the way of experiencing scent truly for scent's sake. Okay. And it's obviously, it's no secret at this point in time that the perfume community is very polarizing. There's just so many opinions. There's so much positivity, negativity, indifference, just thrown around at all of these different angles that sometimes we forget, what does this smell like? Does it smell good? I think it does. Is it worth the money? Absolutely. Plain and simple. I think perfumers should be allowed to charge whatever they want for the price of a perfume. And, when Ensar does something that is, as concentrated as what it is, to have a 50 ml bottle sell for $7.90, it's actually a pretty good deal. When I've worn this countless times, and just from this one simple tester, you can see I've barely used any of it. And I've had this for months now, and I've been able to wear this for months, and I wear it regularly. But, you can't say that about a lot of other perfumes where you might need to buy 2 bottles just to get the same effect that 1 bottle of Crime and Punishment would have. So if you are a Musk fan and you've listened this far, I highly recommend you get your nose on Crime and Punishment. I probably should have started this whole thing by saying this is for the pure parfum. With that being said, I don't know if there's anything else on the market that can compare to this. I don't think there's any other perfumer that's put out something that smells even anywhere close to this. And, all comparisons aside, I really do think Ensar is quickly becoming at the top of his game. That's a controversial statement because everybody has their favorite perfumer. And I can't say with certainty that Ensar is the best perfumer in the world. And I don't think anybody would say that. And that's not what this is. I just think that it's time we start taking people like Ensar seriously, because perfumes like this are here to stay. And I can only help but feel like we're in a golden age of perfumery. And I'm honored to be able to smell this stuff. And I'm honored to be alive right now when we can say that there truly is a renaissance happening within perfumery. And, for what my tastes are and for what I enjoy, I wouldn't want to be alive any other time than right now to experience what these men and women are doing for us as a gift to us. Because let's face it, this could easily be $1,000 perfume and somebody out there would buy it, okay? And it can also be a much cheaper perfume and it wouldn't have smelled as good. So as it stands, this is a 10 out of a 10 for me. I don't know if you agree, but if you do, let me know. Have a good day, everybody.